first, I love that your background is on functional nutrition, because we're a health and wellness optimization clinic. So we started, again, we always say that, as a testosterone replacement clinic, and we're going so far beyond that, because our goal is to give patients, to make patients feel their best. And how do we do this? We're big on EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals. And we kind of ignored something that disturbs our biological system even more, the energy. Our body, we're energy. So now if you take all of that disturbing energy from all of those EMF sources, it's even bigger than EDCs. And we actually came up with a term together, right? Endocrine disrupting chemicals. We talked to Dr. Shanna Swan about this. And now we have endocrine disrupting energies, EDE. But EMFs goes further than just the endocrine system, because it goes to the root of the mitochondria that is really creating energy. So our toxic world has EDCs, EDEs, and now no wonder we have such a toxic society.
Right.
So from you coming down here, we went from, when people ask, what do you do for a living? We own a hormone replacement therapy. I'm like, I am not satisfied with that, because we do so much more. And this weekend has ultimately and legitimately certified us that we are a wellness optimization clinic, meaning we are treating all spectrums. It's no longer eating well, sleeping 8 hours a day, and exercising. It's a lot further, because you can eat really well, but if you have all this toxic EMF affecting your cells every day because you sleep behind a breaker, then you're never gonna ultimately be healthy, and of course, and possibly get disease from the process. So I think this is a good segue to go into the history of natural versus man-made EMFs. The big EMFers, what we call them.
We'll talk about the big EMFers. So the natural EMF that we're aware of is from things in nature. The sun, the moon has a magnetic field that rises the tides. And then we also have the earth. The earth has a magnetic field. When our feet are on the ground, there's a DC, a direct current energy that comes up from the earth. And there's thousands of studies on how DC current can actually benefit your body, and is an anti-inflammatory energy that can actually increase your circulation and reduce inflammation.
Grounding,
earthing.
Which we'll get into later, but yes.
So those are the natural types of EMFs that our body's used to. In 1888, Nikola Tesla, he invented alternating current. And that was the first type of alternating current that was different from DC energy with batteries. Now batteries have DC energy. They were using electricity with batteries before that, but that's actually more biologically compatible because the body, as we know, runs off of DC currents and voltage. The mitochondria produces DC. The heart produces a DC magnetic field that communicates with the brain. So there's these things called the heart math studies that we'll put on the screen. Those are studies that showed how the brain actually communicates with the heart with electromagnetism of DC magnetic fields. And so the natural, the unnatural. The unnatural started in 1888, and it's a pulsed current that's oscillating, whereas DC is a straight line. Right after the invention of AC electricity, we started disconnecting ourselves from the natural as well. So the development of shoes, rubber-soled shoes, happened in I think the 1890s.
1888 was Tesla. 1892, which was 4 years later, was the discovery of the rubber shoes.
Rubber shoes. So that started being implemented, and then cars, it was Henry Ford and cars and rubber tires. That started coming along in the early 19th century, 1900s.
And then the other one was
1893, which was 3 years later. No, 1891, I believe.
The date.
I have it here eventually.
The invention of wireless. The invention of wireless technology.
So within a 7-year period, there was three major events in terms of technology invention that were really good in a way, but it also took us away from that biological evolution.
So we're starting to introduce these man-made pulsating frequencies and disconnecting ourselves from the natural frequencies.
If I can kind of help summarize this a little, because again, this information is so complex.
Yeah.
And how do we go from this electricity that all of us use and we think, man, this is beneficial, it's progress, and how does it go into a disease state? And I'm going to quote Dr. Milham in this book, Dirty Electricity.
Yeah.
And he has a term, disease of civilization. So he pointed in his book that in America, when they studied with the power grid, and they did it by different parts of the country, and he was able to prove by epidemiologic studies that every time that one area of the country would get a power grid, then some diseases would start showing up, especially childhood leukemia, a lot of neuropsychiatric cancers. So the areas that had no electricity didn't have those diseases. It's not even a low incidence, did not have those diseases. And as you started putting power grids and all of those EMFers, into parts of the country, it was easier. That now you can't find areas without EMF. But at the time, you could compare one area with EMF, one area without, and you say, oh, those diseases happen here. Those diseases didn't happen there. So again, for us, we were all thinking chemicals. This is all plastics and pesticides. We were missing a bigger part of the picture, which is the bad energy.
And that's the thing, is having this more holistic viewpoint of, yes, we care about the biochemicals, but we also care about the bioenergies and the energies that are not good for biology, not biologically compatible.
And you know, we've all heard about this. You know, I remember when a study came out that cell phones may cause brain cancer, and it came in the news. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be scared." Then it kind of fizzled away, and nobody talked about it, because what's harder with the energy versus the chemicals? Chemicals, you can kind of see it, you smell it, you can see, the 300,000 tons of atrazine. The energy, you cannot see it unless you come with your devices and you hear that noise, and it's crazy and scary.
Can you demonstrate for us what you did with the I just want now at this point in the conversation, because here's what I want the viewers to understand. We're talking about an invisible force that is very real, so we sound like quacks right now. So in order to not sound like that, I want Brian here to demonstrate this noise that you're going to hear, that we can audibly listen to because our eardrums don't pick up those tiny frequencies, but every single one of our cells, especially the most important part of the cell, the mitochondria, which we'll get into now, picks this up and it actually disrupts them. It's a very serious thing. So why don't you go ahead and
So this device picks up radio frequency, any wireless radiation. So we have some wireless mics on. We're using wireless in the house. There's a Wi-Fi router. There's cell phone towers penetrating the house. And this device picks those up and translates them into an audio signal so we can actually hear them. And I just want to show you, I've got some shielding fabric here that I'm going to demonstrate with as well. So if I turn this on.
If you can hear this on my mic, let me put it close.
Very close to the mic.
That's what your cells are actually perceiving every second when you are in an environment that's not insulated from toxic EMFs. Okay, you can turn it off. Go ahead.
And then this is a silver and cotton shielding fabric. I'm just going to wrap this.
I feel relaxed already.
And you know what? We have a really great demonstration that we actually had to do on our cell phones because the radio frequencies from the cameras were affecting it. And maybe we could show it to the viewers. But he had all of his equipment on. It was all going off. There was so much auditory just noise, right? Like just
dirty noise.
But like pollution, noise pollution, right? It's kind of like having a weed whacker outside of your house all day long. And then all of a sudden he shut off the breakers to our home. All of our phones were on wireless. All the cameras were turned off. And it was like, complete silence, and we all physically felt it. We all felt our bodies like, be more calm. So because it kind of stresses the cell and it puts it on flight or fight response all the time.
Yeah, it does. I mean, this is what we want. This is basically like in a shielded room, and what our ancestors would have experienced: silence, radio silence, nothing. But now, anyone who's implemented a shielding space, you come from this. This is where you're sleeping inside of here. And you come out into the world and you still have to deal with all of this.
Wow. But if you don't shield your bed space, this is how you're sleeping. Your cells are perceiving this while you're sleeping, and then you wonder why we're so anxious and have sleeping
I think
problems.
we can eventually pull up on the video when we were in the room. and you put me inside the little tent
Canopy.
that you have.
Oh, yeah.
That the mic didn't work. That
Yeah.
it was completely insulated. That of how much it avoided all this electromagnetic sensitivity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Optimizing your health is only a scan away. Select the QR code that fits your profile best, and we look forward to hearing from you at the Medical Health Institute.